Hi everyone, it's Lauren from WillSpace. Today we're going to be doing an at-home back bend workout. So all of this stuff will be scalable and just follow along. The very first thing we're going to do to start is a tabletop. So you come to, sit on your butt, have your feet about hip width distance apart, hands turn out to the side so fingers are facing like a 180 circle. From here, shoulders are open, push through your feet, lift your hips up, and bring them back down. We're just gonna move up and down here for about 30 seconds to a minute, starting to warm up the shoulders and also the hips. One thing to make sure here is that we don't drop into the shoulders or lose the hip lift, right? And we also don't wanna arch the back too much. You should have a nice open shoulder, butt scooping under. You should feel a stretch in your hips at the very top, a big stretch in the shoulders, and a big stretch in the biceps. All right, just warming up the upper back for the movements to come. We're gonna do another 5 times. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and then this last one we'll hold for 10 seconds. So up and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your butt back down. Very nice. The next side of the shoulders, this is your puppy pose. I'll show you from the side. For puppy pose, bring your knees together and untuck your toes. If this causes your foot to cramp or it's uncomfortable, just tuck your toes, that's totally fine, but better if we can be here. From here, the hips are gonna stay directly over the knees. I squeeze my legs together and start to walk the hands forward, right? So I only wanna walk as far forward that my hips don't shift back or in front of my knees. I wanna keep them nicely stacked over. I look forward, hands press into the floor, wrap your triceps underneath, so like you're trying to make your armpits look at each other, and start to reach your chest down towards the ground. Now, you have a couple options here. If you're not as low as I am, you can reach your head to the floor for some support, or if that's still not low enough and you have a block, you can put your head on a block. You can also keep your head looking forward for a more active stretch. If you're particularly bendy, you're gonna reach your chest down towards the floor. So hold here briefly. Right, so press the outer armpits down towards the ground, really grip the floor with your hands. And then we'll do some bounces. So start just little bounces of the chest here to warm into the shoulders and the upper back. Make sure the hands stay nice and stationary. Your hands are your anchor points here. Good, shift your body just a little bit over to the right. You're gonna do the same thing here. So now I'm really trying to press my outer right armpit down towards the ground. Little bounces, nothing too big, but enough movement to get a good stretch in the outer right arm. And then shift to the left, same thing. Little bounces into the arm for 5, 2, 1. Good, back to the center. One more time, stretch and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, rest. From here now, a couple quick wrist stretches. So stay on all fours, right? Knees under the hips and shoulders over the wrists. A couple circles, just 3 to 5 in each direction, keeping the palms as flat to the floor as possible. Now that we've had some movement in the wrist, we'll get some real nice stretch in here. It's very important to have very open wrists and forearms for back bending. Good, reverse directions, if you haven't already. Very nice. From here, you'll take your hands in front of you. Top of the hand comes to the floor. Spin the crease of the elbow forward. So what you should see from the front is the elbow like fully creased forward. If this is not possible and you're stuck here and you can't move your elbows, you have a couple options. You can bring the hands a little bit closer to the knees and try and get the shoulders forward, or just hold the stretch wherever you are and try to get that crease of the elbow, that bicep, to face forward as much as possible. If you're bendy, right, and the crease of the elbow facing forward is no problem, you can sit back and forth a couple times. Just gonna do this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shake it out. And the last stretch, a very classic wrist stretch. Take your palms now facing up in front of you, fingertips to the floor, and shift back and forth a few times. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. So we have 3 different drills that we're gonna do today to really get into the upper back and also into the hips to warm up your spine for back bending. The first one is a downward dog to a cobra pose, or a downward dog to an upward dog if you've ever taken a yoga class. They go like this. You can do this with me or follow along for the first one. We're gonna do 10 all together. Hands come to the floor, shoulders over the wrists. Step back into a plank with your feet about hip width distance apart. So I don't want feet together for this one. From here, slight bend to the knees, squeeze your legs in your butt, wrap the armpits in like we did in our puppy pose, and lift the hips up and back. All right, our downward dog. Keep the legs bent for this one, right? I'm not so concerned about a hamstring stretch here quite yet. Now from here, I'm gonna lift up, round my back, through that plank where I started. I squeeze my butt as tight as I can and squeeze my legs and start to open up the hips and the shoulders. Now notice I don't want to drop my hips down towards the floor. I should have really active stretch in the front side of my body to get as tall as possible. You can look up to the ceiling for an increased stretch in the neck. Come back through the plank, and then we'll go through the rest of the reps a little bit faster. So forward, through the plank, chest stretches. Here's 2. 3, 4. If you're lucky like I am, the microphone is picking up all these nice shoulder cracks I'm getting. 5, right? Make sure you're squeezing your legs and butt super tightly through this upward dog position. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. Back through the downward dog and bring your knees to the floor. Very nice. Next drill is the Superman. This is a back conditioning drill, so this won't feel so much like a nice stretch, but it is an important thing to do to prepare your spine for back bending. For a Superman, we come to the floor. You have a couple options here. Option 1, bring the feet all the way together, or you can have the feet slightly apart. If you have a yoga block, you can put a yoga block between your feet as something for feedback to squeeze. If it's impossible to keep the feet together without the feet turning out, right, without the kind of the heels together, but the inner part of the foot is away from itself, that's where I would grab something to squeeze. Hands are gonna come into a nice Y shape here, so not super wide, but not close together, and certainly not all the way together, just a Y shape. From here, I bring my forehead to the ground, I press my hips into the floor and squeeze my butt as hard as I can. I'm gonna reach hands and feet away from each other. I lift hands and feet from the floor, see if I can lift my chest, and bring my body back down. So our Superman is really about finding length in the spine. We're gonna do 5 more and hold the last one for 10 seconds. So hips press, squeeze the butt, find length on the floor, lift up inside that length, keep the head low, and down. Again, reach, squeeze, lift. That's 2. Reach, squeeze, lift. 3. Up. There's 4. Last one. Squeeze, press, lift, and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. All right, so now that we've done our prep work, time to come into our bridge. We'll go through a couple different variations, find out which bridge works for you, which one feels nice today. Never push too hard into a bridge. Always respect your spine and where you are right now. For a bridge, we start on the floor, feet slightly wider than hip width distance. You want some good distance apart on the feet here. Step 1 for the bridge is to push the hips into the, push the back into the floor, so I've got a nice flat spine. That causes my hips to tuck under a little bit. Keep that tuck under as you lift the hips up into a glute bridge. This is enough. Stay here and just work on finding that scoop under of the butt. If this feels good, bring your fingertips to the floor, fingertips face the shoulder. Right, notice I didn't say flat hands, fingertips. From here, as I start to lift my hips, I want to use that space so much from my hip that I can bring the top of my head to the floor. And if this is enough, you keep pressing into your heels and squeezing your butt, right? Again, your hands don't have to be perfectly flat. You can have a little space in the wrists. We'll work on finding a stretch in the spine. If this feels good, you can come up to your tiptoes and start to press your arms straight into a bridge, right? For a bridge here, right, I'll show you one more time. Push away from your hands first to straighten out the elbows, then find space. It's more important that the elbows are straight than anything else. If you're bendy like me, you can take a few steps in, elbows straight, armpits in. Wherever you are, take a super deep breath. And as you exhale, lift your shoulders up as you try to put your heels on the floor. We're all gonna hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From here, step the feet out if you need to. Tuck your chin, bend the elbows, bring the spine back down. Good. And now, come into a little bit of a happy baby just to neutralize the spine. So you grab the outside of your foot, either from the ankle, if that's comfortable, or the full outside of the foot. If this is enough, stay here. If not, just bring the feet up, press the back into the floor. You can do a couple little rocks back and forth. I don't really like to do big rocks in happy baby. I just kind of imagine like pulling my knee to the floor and keeping my spine as neutral as possible. And hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly roll out of it. And that's your back bends for today.